And I'm going to jump right into that right now. Very first thing I want to say is that I met this gentleman through a friend of mine from back home. Very, very good friend of mine, Sandra Lewis, who y'all all know as the painting studio lady. So that's how I met our guest today. And she knew he was deserving of some assistance from the board. And once I met him and talked to him and met his lovely family, which y'all stand up, why don't you? We have Tanya, Miss Tanya, Ty, and Taylor. And of course, that's Tommy on the end, and he's going to speak to us in just a few minutes. Thank you. So in your folders, you have a little sheet here. I'm going to take a minute to read it for the benefit of the audience. They do not have it, of course. But where I leave off, I'm kind of going to drift off in the middle of a sentence, and Tommy's going to come right on up and take over from there. So Tommy Lohman is the proud husband of his beautiful wife, Tanya, who you just met, and devoted dad to two wonderful kids, Ty, age 13, and daughter Taylor, 17. Due to the fact that felons have a hard time landing gainful employment, Tommy decided he would become an entrepreneur. His offenses in the past included robbery and possession of a controlled substance, and when he was released, he knew that that would be detrimental to his reentry into society. So therefore, he and Tanya operated several successful businesses shortly after his release from prison, and at the same time, he was working several part-time jobs, just to make ends meet and provide for his family. One of the businesses that he had was located in the small historic downtown area of Blackshear, which some of you may be familiar with. It happened to be the same town, where he was convicted of those offenses. While operating his business in the downtown area, Tommy became involved in community development and discovered a great need for public engagement. The part-time position opened up with the city of Blackshear for a Main Street manager. And at Tanya's encouragement, he applied for the position with the thoughts that he wouldn't be considered, due to the past felony convictions. I guess you could say he was wrong, but because he did start working for the city of Blackshear, it was a part-time position, and he was the Main Street manager. That happened all in the spring of 2008. Within 6 months on the job, Tommy started several successful initiatives and created a movement within the community that prompted the mayor and the council to make that a full-time position. So Tommy and Tanya sold the business so that he could immerse himself in the community of economic development. He rose quickly to the top of the profession and was asked to serve on the Georgia Downtown Association Board of Directors, where he later served in some other positions, and then eventually became president of the organization. Under his leadership, the Georgia Downtown Association hosted several statewide conferences and held multiple downtown development days at the Capitol, and I attended one of those actually, and I have to say Tommy had the governor there. And I was like going, wow, that's a big deal, when you can get the governor to walk over to the CLOB, no less, and attend your meeting. I was very impressed with that. But Tommy continued to work diligently to become a leader in the field and was rewarded by passing his exam to become a certified downtown development professional. And eventually he became the city of Blackshear's economic development director. In Blackshear, his organization was the recipient of many statewide awards for his community development efforts, including the statewide Emerging Leadership Award and Most Creative Fundraiser for an organization. In 2013, Tommy was asked to serve as one of Georgia's Forward Young Game Changers, a group of top young professionals under the age of 40 years of age and from across the state of Georgia. During Tommy's tenure in Blackshear, the Main Street program was responsible for filling over 17 vacant storefronts in the downtown district. They were awarded several grants, completed numerous development projects totaling millions of dollars of public-private investment, rebuilt the rundown community parks, raised funds for local school projects, built science labs, and of course they were published in the AJC and then also the Florida Times-Union down that way, because Blackshear's kind of South Georgia, so they were also in that paper too. They also raised thousands of dollars for local nonprofit organizations and many more. Tommy attributes his and the Main Street program's success during such rough economic times to the support of the City of Blackshear, the Main Street Board of Directors, and of course his family. Wanting to do more to help men in the community turn their lives around, Tommy went to the Pierce County Jail weekly to encourage the incarcerated men to keep moving forward and reminding them there's always hope to transform their lives. He made a commitment to his friend Kurt Johnson to participate in hosting Bible study once a week, which eventually became a men's ministry. The Bible study's been going strong for 10 years and has an average of 40 men every Thursday night. Sometimes with crowds of over 100 people, so that's really awesome. Tommy continues to serve on the board of the organization, which is Men of the Way Ministries. And it also grew so large that they have acquired 15 acres of land and constructed just a simple building to house their program, and then also to help families and create stronger churches, and which in turn creates stronger communities. Another board Tommy helped create and serve on is the Amherst Jam Foundation, which is a nonprofit group responsible for raising money to help families of children with rare diseases. Since its inception, the Amherst Jam Foundation has raised hundreds of thousands of dollars and helped countless families in their time of need. As a way of giving back to the community, Tommy participated in the local Dancing with the Stars, Southern Stars, fundraiser for 2 years in a row. And in this event, he's paired with a professional dancer, and you've probably seen these before, so it's kind of like Dancing with the Stars, but somebody dances, Tommy has to learn the dance, and then they raise money, so that's a really fun event. But the money that they've raised goes to support the Magnolia House, which is a local battered women's shelter. So in the spring of 2016, Tommy joined the Georgia Department of Community Affairs Office of Downtown Development as the Communications and Training Coordinator for the state. He's currently attending Darton College to obtain a degree in organizational leadership and will complete his Economic Development Finance Professional Certification in 2017. So having received his degree and with his pardon in hand, Tommy is going to come on up.
Thank you, Ms. Rita.
You're very welcome.
I appreciate y'all having me. Rita asked would I come by and speak about how the pardon has affected my life and what I've done with it. I'll tell you that something that was really interesting to me when I started looking at applying for the pardon. I downloaded it, printed it off, filled it out a couple of times, and I just set it on the desk because I didn't think it would happen, so I didn't really even pursue it. And the list of things, some of the list of things she covered here in this paper, it just scratches the surface of the many things that God has allowed me to do since I've come home from prison. Most of that, the credit of that, would go to my lovely wife because she's pushy. I'll just put it there. No, she believes in me sometimes when I don't believe in myself, but she pushed me to go to the City of Blackshear and apply. And of course, with the felonies, I said, it's a local government. They won't hire anybody with felonies. And so, but they did. We interviewed and they did. So she was right again. She's usually right. But, and if I had time to go through the entire story of my life, it's too long to tell today, for another time maybe. But I guess the first time I was in trouble with the law was at 6 years old. So I grew up in housing projects and mobile home parks and sometimes homeless, so we come up rough. But through the years and through going through some of that stuff, one of the best things that happened was when I got locked up in the county jail, it's the first time I read the Bible. So to me, that opened the door, which ultimately led to me getting saved. And I get emotional because it's a lot. But anyway, so I ended up getting saved, and the rest has been history. I mean, God's really opened a lot of doors. My wife has always been there, for me and pushing me. And I think one of the things that I wanted to touch on, because Rita helped me a lot, pushed me. She was pushy too, so she pushed me right on through the process and said, "Hey, fill it out, get it done, let's get it in there." And so she helped me do that. But I want to share with you guys as a board the impact that makes stretches far beyond the one person. So it reached, first and foremost to my family, because if they're successful, I'm really a true success. So, but also the men's ministry has touched thousands of guys, and we started it because some guys weren't comfortable going to church, and a lot of them were coming out of jail and different things, and so we tried to give them a place to come, and it ended up being more than that. Now anybody comes, but I mean it's men, but they're dedicated, and they come and they get fed, and then they go back to their churches and they become productive members of their churches and communities, and they really start making a difference and a change. And so when I received a pardon, I was able to share with those guys, some of them that have been in trouble and some of them that are trying to start their life over, and that said, this is great, but I got these felonies and I can't do anything, and I don't know what I'm going to do. Which that's why we started the business, because I didn't think I'd be able to get a good job. So I was like, I'm going to be successful. I'm just going to find a way to do it. So we started a business, and we did well. And it was a God thing that I moved into the city, because I was able to help develop the entire community. Same community that I caused so much chaos in when I was young and stupid. So, but it was during all that stuff that I was able to share with these guys, give them hope too, that it's possible. And not only there, but also Christian Family Center in Soperton, Georgia, is a rehab center. Men from jail end up there sometimes to transition back into society. There's a lot of different things that go on there, but it's more of a drug rehab facility. But I was able to share with them, and I've spoken to thousands of guys that have come to that place, but that I was able to get my pardon, and that I was able to move on and put that part of my life behind me, only using it to maybe help somebody else in the future. But as I shared it with them, the director of that organization happened to be incarcerated before too, and had some things that he wanted to get a pardon. Well, just like me, he had the pardon filled out, sitting on his desk, and kind of just lacked he's like, I don't know if it'll work. So, sometimes it's crazy that we give up before we even try, but we do. So anyway, I called Rita again, put her on the spot, and I was like, hey, I got another guy here, great guy, he's helped, ton of folks, and so she was able to help him do what he needed to do to get his paperwork, and he was able to get his pardon. And so that you've done for him carries over to all the thousands of men that come through there, to let them know that just because you made a mistake doesn't mean that's the end of your life, and doesn't mean that you can't be productive. And what I'm doing now, as she said, is now that I have the pardon, I called my boss from the Office of Department of Community Affairs before I came over, and I said, how important was it that I had the pardon before I got the job? And she said, well, we can work with your education, not having the formal education, because you have the work experience, and you have a proven track record of success and everything you've done. And she said, but the criminal history, we can't help you there. So that you earned, you got it, it's yours. But with the pardon, we were able to put that, when they pull it up, it says pardon. And it didn't red flag anything, they were able to push right through. So I ended up getting the job, and the pardon had a lot to do with it. So what I would like to do now is carry on this process. Only God knows where I'll end up. The only limits I'm going to have are the ones I place on myself. So with all that being said, I mean, there's no telling where I could be, but I just want these guys to know that come from prison, or that have been in trouble, that not only can you come out and exist be a productive citizen, but you can go as far as you want to go. You can go, and all the dreams you had before all this stuff happened, you can go ahead and come back and achieve those dreams. And so I know you guys do a lot of different things. I know you're heavily involved in victim services and so many different parts of the Board of Pardon and Paroles. But in this part, I just wanted you to know that you're giving people hope. And then I appreciate the fact that you look at these cases with fresh eyes, because it would be hard even for me, former convicted felon, to look at day in and day out at these cases that come through and say, not judge that single person by the actions of the whole, because the recidivism rate is great. People continue to go back. The last time I went to the Pierce County Jail to speak, the same guys that were in there, the ones that were there 15 years before, when I was locked up in the Pierce County Jail. So it's the same people keep going through the same things again and again. But there is a way to break the cycle. First and foremost, Jesus. Other than that, a very pushy and persistent wife. But I just appreciate what y'all do, and that y'all do look at it with fresh eyes. And then also, you're not just helping the person move up a little bit or move a little further in their career, but you're helping them make an impact and an impression in their family first, and also in the communities and with other guys they come in contact with. So with that, I'm not going to keep you guys any longer, but I appreciate y'all's time. Thank you, Rita. Oh, questions?
Remind us again, I think that Rita told us, but what was your offense?
Well, like I said, starting about 6 years old, was the first time I got in trouble with the police. And I've had offenses here and there throughout. The two felonies that I had, one was a robbery by sudden snatching, and then the other one was a possession charge. So, serious offenses.
Yeah. Wow. What year did you get your pardon?
What was that 2013? 13. What was funny was when I was in the CLOB over there, had the governor, the Secretary of State, the Speaker. I had everybody there speaking on behalf of downtown development and our organization. And Rita was in the back of the room. And when she come back, she goes, "You don't know me," because we'd only talked over the phone, sent emails, and she said, "But I'm Miss Rita Rocker." And I said, "Well, that's nice. I got a question for you." I had my pardon paperwork in my pocket. I said, so
I was going to tell that story.
I pulled it out. I was like, "Can you tell me what this means?" Because I was still, curious as to what some of it meant. But to tell you I was proud to have it was an understatement. So.
Questions from the members?
How long, Tommy, I actually think I remember this when it came through, but how long after you've completed your sentence did you get your pardon?
I completed my sentence in 2005, I think. So it would have been 8 years.
You completed all your probation, parole?
Probation, parole.
8 years before you actually earned your pardon?
Yes, yeah. It was a process. My wife and I started talking about this, and I was like, it would have been nice to have this pardon when I first got home. I wouldn't have had so much trouble, getting through some, things, because the fact that I went back to my hometown, because I figured if I could make it there, I can make it anywhere. The fact that I went there was good and bad. They all knew my criminal history. I've never hid from it, never ran from it. To this day, I don't. It is part of who I am. It's what led me to the Lord, so I'm glad for that. At the same time, it got drug out into the newspapers. It was a smear campaign. My past was used to attack me. It was my past. It is what I did. I never ran from it. And so, like I said, it was good and bad that I went there. But I felt if I dealt with it there and moved forward, that I could deal with it, like I said, anywhere.
Other questions?
Mr. Chairman, I just want to say, thank you for coming today, and thank you for what you've done. I know this is not the end of the story, but
Just the beginning.
it could have been real easy to choose another path. the path that you've chosen is a much better life.
Oh, yeah.
A much more wonderful life. And I know your son and daughter and wife, you know, you got a lot to be proud of. And your dad has demonstrated that we're human beings and we're flawed human beings. And at some point in life, we're all going to make a bad choice, a wrong decision, but it's what you do after you make that. And your dad has demonstrated to all of us you can recover, and I just want to say thank you and encourage you to keep it up.
Appreciate it.
You know, just for those who are actually in the audience that may not quite understand the process for actually earning a pardon by this board, you obviously have to, number one, crime-free, done with all your probation, parole, and be crime-free for at least 5 years before you actually can apply. Then you've got to actually win the votes of 3 of 5 members on this board to actually be pardoned, and that is what you actually have done. And it's an amazing thing. Actually, when I look at your resume, Tommy, and see all that you're doing for the community, you actually put me to shame. I mean,
It's a good thing we didn't fill it all out, then. I'm telling you, we've accomplished a lot. I couldn't even.
But you're an amazing person. I thank you so much for your service to this state. You've certainly earned the right to be part of it.
Thank y'all.
Thank you. For your new desk at the Department of Community Affairs, we have a little paperweight with the parole board seal on it. So thank you so much. We
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Thank you.